Namaskar and thank you for joining us here on World Today. Well, Twitter has laid off about 50% of its workforce and now Meta is about to follow suit, though the percentage may be smaller. But these are likely to be the largest layoffs seen in major tech companies in a long time. Is there a trend in the tech industry retrenchment? We'll analyze the reasons with an expert on the subject. But as always, let's begin with the headlines. After apologizing to Twitter staff for expanding the social media giant too quickly, Jack Dorsey, the Twitter co-founder and former CEO, takes on Elon Musk and expresses his dislike for the new name of Twitter's Birdwatch feature. Dorsey says that Twitter will never die. The iconic social media firms in the United States continue to face headwinds after Twitter, Facebook parent Meta platforms are planning to begin large-scale layoffs this week that may affect thousands of employees, according to newspaper reports. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to begin his official visit to Russia today, the EAM to meet his counterpart Sergei Lavrov, along with other dignitaries. Discussions are expected to cover bilateral issues as well as various regional and international developments. North Korea vows resolute and overwhelming response as the US and South Korea conduct their biggest ever Air Force exercise. The warning comes after a spate of North Korean weapons tests last week. India stands on the top position on Group 2 after winning 4 of its 5 matches and will face England in Adelaide in the semi-final 2 on Thursday. In semi-final 1, Pakistan will face New Zealand at the Sydney Cricket Ground on Wednesday. Holger Rune's rapid rise hits a new milestone as this 19-year-old clinches his maiden ATP Masters 1000 at the Paris Masters and defeats Novak Djokovic in the title clash. Right at the top, the big news. Well, after Musk now, there are reports that Zuckerberg and social media giants, that's Twitter and Meta, are both downsizing. Because why is this happening? It's probably economic, but it might also be happening. The timing is important. There's the US midterms going on. There's a lot behind the story. So let's look at the Twitter report first.
Nearly 48 hours after he apologized to Twitter staff for expanding the social media giant too quickly, after Elon Musk fired roughly half of the company's 7,500 employees, Jack Dorsey, Twitter co-founder and former CEO, took on the billionaire, asking him about what Musk said was the company's vision. Dorsey also expressed his dislike for the new name of Twitter's Birdwatch feature. Folks at Twitter, past and present, are strong and resilient. They will always find a way no matter how difficult the moment. I realize many are angry with me. I own the responsibility for why everyone is in this situation. I grew the company size too quickly. I apologize for that. On one hand, responding to another tweet, Dorsey said that he believes Twitter will never die. On the other hand, Elon Musk said on Sunday, Twitter users engaging in impersonation without clearly specifying it as a parody account will be permanently suspended without a warning. After Twitter Inc. laid off roughly half its staff on Friday following Elon Musk's $44 billion acquisition, the company is now reaching out to dozens of employees who lost their jobs and asking them to return, reportedly. Reports suggest some of those who are being asked to return were laid off by mistake. Others were let go before management realized that their work and experience may be necessary to build the new features Musk envisions, the report said, citing people familiar with the moves. Twitter on Saturday updated its app in Apple's App Store to begin charging $8 for sought-after blue-check verification marks in Musk's first major revision of the social media platform.
Look, ultimately, when Musk paid the $44 billion, it put a lot of pressure financially on this deal with the debt. Big layoffs were going to come. 50% is an extreme number, and I think it just speaks to how dire the situation is and ultimately how much pressure Musk face now with owning Twitter. He faces pressure on a multitude of areas. One, revenue pressure. How do you monetize Twitter as a platform? That's really been the treadmill that we've seen over the last decade in terms as a social media platform.
Twitter has launched the $8 verification service for a limited number of iOS users in 5 countries as its new owner Elon Musk works to revamp the platform's verification system and cut down the losses. Twitter Blue with verification is currently available in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. Twitter Blue will roll out in India in less than a month. The current verification system, which was launched in 2009 to prevent impersonation of high-profile accounts such as celebrities and politicians, will be phased out. Twitter now has approximately 423,000 verified accounts, many of which are rank and file journalists from around the world who were verified regardless of their number of followers. In another development, some advertisers have pulled spending since the deal was announced, with Musk blaming activist groups for pressuring advertisers amid concerns about its content moderation. To this, Musk said on Sunday that Twitter needs to become by far the most accurate source of information about the world and called it his mission. His tweet instantly triggered tens of thousands of replies and provoked lively debates on how the mission will be achieved. With Bureau Inputs, World Today Desk, DD India.
So we can see the big tech firms have been having a rough time in general. Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook turned Meta is going through a rough patch, rather painful rough patch, and going through the rough and tumble these days. Large-scale layoffs are now in the offing on the back of earnings slowdown and a drop in stock price as well. What's going on? Let's find out in this report.
Meta platforms are planning to begin large-scale layoffs this week that will affect thousands of employees, the Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday, citing people familiar with the matter with an announcement planned as early as this Wednesday. Meta declined to comment on the WSG report. Facebook parent Meta in October forecasted a weak holiday quarter and significantly more costs next year, wiping about $67 billion of Meta's stock market value, adding to the more than $500 billion in value already lost this year. The disappointing outlook comes as Meta is contending with slowing global economic growth, competition from TikTok, privacy changes from Apple, concerns about massive spending on the metaverse and the ever-present threat of regulation. Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg has said he expects the metaverse investments to take about a decade to bear fruit. In the meantime, he has had to freeze hiring, shutter projects and reorganize teams to trim costs.
At Meta, we're focused on building the fundamental technology that will help bring the metaverse to life, whether that's in virtual reality, augmented reality, or the social presence layer across both.
The social media company had in June cut plans to hire engineers by at least 30%, with Zuckerberg warning employees to brace for an economic downturn. Meta's shareholder Altimeter Capital Management, in an open letter to Mark Zuckerberg, had previously said the company needs to streamline by cutting jobs and capital expenditure, adding that Meta has lost investor confidence as it ramped up spending and pivoted to the metaverse. Bureau Report, DD India.
So let's turn to Mayank Bidwatka, who's the co-founder of Coup, joining us now. Thank you very much, Mr. Bidwatka. Thank you for your time. Now, why is there a need to lay off in such large numbers? Such a move usually comes with some warning, but here it's happening rapidly.
Well, I can't speak very intelligently about the workings of Twitter. I'm sure Elon Musk has some reason to be doing that, given that it's a large company with global operations.
Right. Okay. But what is a business model to monetize these kind of services? Are we moving away from the days when everything was free? Why is there suddenly a need for to try and put pressure on people to start paying?
Well, we don't believe that this is the best way to monetize a platform like this. I think the internet brought a certain promise with it, which is to democratize services and making people pay to prove their identity is not what Ku believes is the best way to monetize. There are lots of other ways, whether it's in-app transactions, whether it's advertising. From whatever reports that I've read, I think there's been a lot of pressure on advertising revenues because of activist groups.
Okay.
Again, I will not be able to intelligently comment on that because I don't know the details.
Yeah.
But our monetization experiments will not involve charging users for fundamental rights that the internet promises to them.
Indeed. So that's the question. Is there really a conflict between revenue models and freedom of expression at the end of the day? If if you pay this $9, you have certain privilege for greater freedom in a sense. So that's like, I give you something and then you say, okay, now you have the freedom to express yourself. The rest of those people don't have the same kind of rights. That's not quite fair, is it?
Well, I think that from whatever I understand, I don't think that anyone's freedom of expression is being curbed even today.
Right.
The subscription amount that's being demanded is being demanded for proving an identity for certain features like editing a tweet. It's for subscription services to certain creators. So, having said that, all of these features are available for free to users on Ku. So we somehow don't subscribe to the notion of charging users.
Indeed. This is a platform, and now that we're seeing that Twitter is going through some sort of a problem, is this, an opportunity for a company like yours? People can, that's the way the game is. When one seems to be going through a tough time or facing the headwinds, the other moves to the fore. The competitors. Yeah.
As a company, we've always been very user-focused. The reason why we started Ku is because millions of users on the internet in India were actually language speakers, and they were underrepresented on existing microblogs. You won't see too many Hindi or Marathi or Gujarati or any of these languages tweets.
Right.
And given the size of these states, given the size of these languages, we felt that this underrepresentation is actually a cause of not having immersive language features. Our company started with that thesis. 80% of the country does not speak English. 80% of the world does not speak in English. So we don't believe that English is the main language with which all global platforms need to operate in. It's important to give immersive language features. Having said that, I think here's a time where basics are being questioned, where fundamental rights that users should have on the internet are going to be charged for.
Right.
We already have English as a language, right? We've already been present on the Play Stores and App Stores of hundreds of countries. Today, Ku is being used in 200 plus countries. We're very happy to make this product and service available to users who'd like a free alternative to be able to speak their mind, to prove their identity.
Sure. So, let's look at it from the employment point of view, because this, the issue is of layoffs currently. For instance, for your platform now, since you work in so many languages, there's the idea of monitoring to some extent of the content, for which you require people, isn't it? You have to require people who understand the languages as well. In terms of these kind of layoffs, are we likely to see, because of all this happening, people misusing the platforms? Because there could be a lot more misinformation that is being spread because there aren't enough staff to try and monitor.
Well, content moderation is actually manual in the early days, but a lot of machine learning is used to start predicting problematic content. I see issues which are a little larger when you start charging people to verify their identity, and that would be around people with blue ticks losing it because they didn't pay for it, and users following the wrong people because of that. I think that is a larger cause of misinformation than content moderation.
Indeed. Now, Meta in the third quarter saw its profits fall to $4.4 billion, 52% decrease year on year. Meta's stock price also took a major hit because of the disappointing results, falling about 25% in one day. The question is, since there's a slide, one is concerned as to how far and how wide can this be, because other companies get involved, because sentiment is like that.
Well, I think that we're operating in a very different market. If you look at the Indian stock market, it's not necessarily following what's happening on DGIA, whether it's S&P, whether it's NASDAQ.
Okay.
I think we have our own domestic story that's playing out pretty well. What they face is more an inflationary led probable recession that's playing out in their country.
Okay.
I think we're very fortunate to be here where we did not roll out a lot of subsidies because of COVID.
So Microsoft is also laying off, and we can see that this is Intel probably next, maybe Alphabet also. So we are going to go through a period of layoffs. For people who are involved with this industry, I mean, you of course as an entrepreneur, but then there are others who are workers. What kind of advice would you give them to stay afloat at this point of time?
I think it's important, relevant to the organization. Every organization leader will do what's first best for the organization and then what's best for the interests of the people. I think some of these things become necessary evils at times of need. Having said that, I think there are human ways of handling each of these filings. Whatever I read recently didn't seem like the best way to let go of a lot of people who worked hard for years and decades and made their workplace their home. That was very sad to read about, and I think these interactions need to be a little more empathetic.
Indeed, and if we look at the impact into pure economic terms, what kind of an impact is this going to have on, let's say, the US economy to start with, and then the global economy? You say that you are far away, but to some extent we are looking at a globalized world, and people, especially in the social media, are using these platforms ubiquitously.
Yeah, well, I think it's something that we all have to we all have to see what happens. It's very difficult to predict these things. If they were that straightforward, economists would have told us while subsidies were being rolled out that something like this might happen. Like you said, we live in a connected world, and I hope that our strong domestic story is able to shield us from some of these things that might happen here.
Okay, I know this may be a little odd question for you, but this is happening at the time of the US midterm elections. Would you see, this kind of having an impact, because our channel, focuses on the global news. So to a large extent, this is one of the questions that people are raising. Is this, something that's affected by the timing?
Well, I don't think I can intelligently comment on something like that.
Right. But would you say that, there are sort of, that political pressures are also brought to bear on economic decisions? Look, there is a global recession that's taking place. Why? Because there was a war in Ukraine that started. There was also the impact of COVID for 2 years, which had led to a slowdown, and now there is this. But one thought that perhaps there's some certain or some business models, especially those which use internet, are unlikely to be affected to that extent, but they are getting affected now. So that's the question as to how the economies are connected.
Well, I think a lot of the revenues of the companies that you're talking about are advertising led, and they depend on the businesses of the businesses that advertise, and hence you could see this effect, but I don't see this lasting beyond a couple of quarters. Most of these services are actually catering to very basic human needs that will not go away in the recent future, right? So I doubt this will last too long. We've seen various recessions come and go, and they're followed by times of great boom. So, let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayank Bidwatka. Thank you for joining us and enlightening us on the subject. Co-founder of Coup, the platform that is rival to the Indian rival to Twitter. Now moving on to our next story. The 27th Conference of Parties of the UNFCCC, or COP27, is currently on in Sharm el-Sheikh. The Egyptian Foreign Minister, the Egyptians are the hosts of this event, and therefore they are the COP27 president. Sameh Sokri is the name of the gentleman. He's called for an end to all unsustainable lifestyles. Let's look at the details.
Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP27, kick-started in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt on Sunday. With the start of COP, the largest annual gathering on climate action, the presidency has passed on from the United Kingdom to Egypt.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to declare open the 27th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Thanks to the work that we did together, we achieved our objective, the goal at the heart of the Paris Agreement. We kept 1.5 degrees alive.
The 27th Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP27, called for concrete actions and multilateral cooperation at the opening ceremony on Sunday in Egypt's coastal city of Sharm el-Sheikh. During his speech at the opening ceremony, the Egyptian Foreign Minister and COP27 President Sameh Sokri said climate change threatens human life, and industrial development patterns which are no longer sustainable must be changed.
I hope this conference can become a turning point on the long way to achieve the goal of easing climate change. Let's set the goal and strive for it. Let's be pragmatic, taking concrete actions and carrying out multilateral cooperation.
India believes COP27, themed Together for Implementation, should turn out to be the COP for action in terms of climate finance, technology transfer and capacity building. Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Bhupendra Yadav inaugurated the India Pavilion. The COP27 is being held from 6th to 18th November. The India Pavilion theme is Life, Lifestyle for Environment. Over 45,000 registered COP27 participants and over 120 heads of state and government are attending the summit. India looks forward to substantial progress on the discussions related to climate finance and clarity on its definition. On the agenda of COP27 are discussion on implementation of various pledges on climate change mitigation and finance, most of which have not been put into action. It is also expected to discuss critical and highly debated issues like loss and damage and adaptation as part of the formal agenda. The main issues are likely to be the mitigation work program, the global goal on adaptation, loss and damage and climate finance. New requests have come in from some parties to include issues like keeping the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal alive, special circumstances of Africa and transparency in financial flows to be included in the agenda. COP stands for Conference of the Parties, with parties referring to the 197 nations that agreed to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1992. The 197 parties, including the United States, ratified the treaty to address dangerous human interference with the climate system and stabilize levels of greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere. The UN climate body convenes those governments once a year to discuss how to jointly address climate change. This is the 27th time the countries have gathered under the convention, hence COP27. With agency inputs, World Today Desk, DD India.
North Korea's military have said today that recent South Korea-US military exercises were an open provocation and dangerous war drill, as the South said that it had recovered parts of the North Korean missile that landed off its coast. Let's look at this report on what both sides had to say.
Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff today said that a South Korean ship had recovered debris believed to be part of a North Korean short-range ballistic missile that landed off the south coast last week. It was the first time a North Korean ballistic missile had landed near South Korean waters. The South Korean Navy rescue vessel used an underwater probe to recover the parts which are being analyzed.
Our military on yesterday November 6 recovered the debris believed to be part of North Korean short-range ballistic missile in south of the northern limit line in East Sea, which was fired on November 2. The related organizations are conducting rigorous analysis.
Earlier in the day, the North Korean military has described the recent US-South Korean military exercises as an open provocation and dangerous war drill, and has threatened to respond to them with sustained, resolute and overwhelming military actions. The North's military said the Vigilant Storm exercises were an open provocation aimed at intentionally escalating the tension and a dangerous war drill of very high aggressive nature.
The enemy's large-scale combined air drill is in fact an open provocation aimed at internationally escalating the tension in the region and a dangerous war drill of very high aggressive nature directly targeting at our country. The recent corresponding military operations by Korean People's Army are our clear answer that the more persistently the enemy's provocation military move continues, the more thoroughly and mercilessly we'll counter them. This is the principle and direction of action of our armed forces in the future too.
In the Vigilant Storm drills, hundreds of US and South Korean jets, including potent B-1B heavy bombers, participated in an action that, according to the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff, showed the capability and readiness to firmly respond to any provocation from North Korea. Last week, North Korea test-fired multiple missiles, including a possible failed intercontinental ballistic missile or ICBM, and hundreds of artillery shells into the sea as South Korea and the United States carried out 6-day air drills until Saturday. Bureau Report, DD India.
The External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will begin a 2-day visit to Russia today. And during this visit, the EAM will meet his counterpart, Sergei Lavrov. The discussions are expected to cover the entire range of the bilateral issues, as well as to exchange on issues of various regional and international developments. The EAM is also going to meet the Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation and the Minister of Trade and Industry, Denis Manturov, who is his counterpart for the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation. Issues pertaining to bilateral economic cooperation in various domains will be discussed. This visit will be in continuation of the regular high-level dialogue between the two countries. The EAM had last visited Russia in July of 2021, followed by the visit of the Russian Foreign Minister to New Delhi in April of 2022. "19 people have died in a plane crash. It crash-landed actually in Tanzania. The Tanzanian plane crashed into a lake, Lake Victoria, and the two pilots had initially survived the crash and they were in touch with the rescue workers for some time from the cockpit, but they later reportedly died of a lack of oxygen supply. And fortunately, two flight attendants were saved.
It was an ill-fated Sunday for these victims in Tanzania. At least 19 people died when a passenger plane crashed into Lake Victoria. 39 passengers, including an infant, as well as 4 crew members were on board. Flight PW494, operated by Precision Air, hit the water during storms and heavy rain, according to the state Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation. Rescuers in boats rushed to the wreckage, which was almost fully submerged, to pull out trapped passengers. The two pilots initially survived the crash and were in touch with rescue workers from the cockpit, but later it was reported that their oxygen supply was dwindling and died by the time rescuers reached them. Fortunately, 2 flight attendants survived.
We will continue to provide support for the victims and their families here in Dar es Salaam and Bukoba. We ask the affected families to remain calm at this time while the evacuation process is ongoing. The report we have is that people who were rescued were taken to a government hospital and are receiving treatment. We have opened the center for the sake of passengers who are affected and the relatives who are following the rescue efforts. The Center Family Assistance. We have opened family assistance centers to provide information of the incident. We urge journalists to disseminate the correct information from reliable sources.
Precision Air, Tanzania's largest privately owned airline, identified the plane as flight PW494 and said it was involved in an accident as it was approaching Bukoba Airport. Flight PW494, which departed from the commercial capital Dar es Salaam, crash landed into the lake as it was approaching the lakeside city of Bukoba. The cause was not immediately clear, but the Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation said the incident took place amid storms and heavy rains. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan called for calm as the rescue operation continued. World Today Desk, DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will unveil the logo, theme and website of India's G20 presidency on the 8th of November via video conferencing. Guided by the vision of the Prime Minister, the foreign policy of India has been evolving to undertake leadership roles on the global stage, and in a significant step in this direction, India will assume the G20 presidency from the 1st of December. So the G20 presidency, it offers a unique opportunity to India to contribute on the global stage to the global agenda on pressing issues of international importance. The logo, theme and the website of G20 presidency, it would reflect India's message and overarching priorities to the world. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar will visit Cambodia from the 11th to the 13th of November 2022 to attend the ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit and the 17th East Asia Summit. Cambodia, as the current chair of ASEAN, is hosting these summits. Vice President will be accompanied by the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The Vice President will attend the ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit in Phnom Penh on the 12th of November 2022. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the ASEAN-India relationship and is being celebrated as the ASEAN-India Friendship Year. On the 13th of November 2022, Vice President will participate in the 17th East Asia Summit, which comprises the 10 ASEAN member states. During his visit, the Vice President will also have bilateral engagements with the Cambodian leadership. On the margins of the summit, he will hold bilateral meetings with leaders from other countries as well. While returning from Phnom Penh, Vice President will also visit Siem Reap to review the preservation and restoration work being undertaken by India at Cambodian heritage sites. Dr. L. Murugan, the Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, took a review meeting on preparations of the 53rd International Film Festival of India in Panaji today. Various organizations involved in conducting IFFI made presentations before the minister on the ongoing preparations for IFFI. The meeting was attended by the Secretary INB, Apurva Chandra, officials from NFDC, ESG, State Police, PIB and Prasar Bharati. The minister also visited some IFFI venues. The 53rd IFFI will be held from the 20th to the 28th of November in Panaji.
This time we are focusing the film bazaar and pavilions like Cannes Film Festival type. Here our NFDC, our Government of India and Government of Goa is organizing this time the whole 20th to 28th, up to 28th. The whole 8 days, there are so many activities will be there. The screening of new movies and the screening of premier movies and the screening of award winners and the national award winners they are coming to participate, and Dada Sahib Phalke awardee winners participation and master classroom participations. All these 8 days here will be in festival mode. So the festival like festival type here, that arrangements is going to.
The 53rd edition of the International Film Festival of India will include 12 international and 3 Indian movies that will be screened at for the coveted Golden Peacock Award. The 15 films include Perfect Number, Red Shoes, A Minor and No End, while the 3 Indian movies representing the emerging trends in aesthetics and politics of art are The Kashmir Files, The Storyteller and Kurangu Pedal. The International Film Festival of India this year will be held from the 20th of November to the 28th of November in Goa, and from the very first Golden Peacock awarded in the third edition of IFFI, the prize has been amongst the most sought after film awards in Asia. The jury is tasked with the impossible job to some extent of picking a winner this year. It comprises of the Israeli writer and film director Nadav Lapid, the American producer Jinko Goto, the French film editor Pascal Chavans, the French documentary filmmaker, film critic and journalist Javier Angulo, and India's very own film director Sudipto Sen. Let's now get you Business Today. And for Business Today, let's go across to Samriddhi. She is going to take us through Business Today.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. And on Business Today, our first story is the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Monday said that the government's continuous efforts to reduce NPAs and further strengthen the health of public sector banks are now showing tangible results. The Finance Minister said that all the 12 public sector banks put together declared net profit of 25,685 crores in the second quarter ending September 30th, and the aggregate net profit for the first half this fiscal stood at 40,991 crores. Now this was up by 50% and 31.6% respectively on a year-on-year basis. While the State Bank of India reported 74% jump in the net profit in the second quarter to 13,265 crores, the Canara Bank recorded 89% increase in profit to 2,525 crores. The Bank of Baroda reported 58.70% increase in profit at 3,312.42 crores. And in a day marked with volatility, benchmark indices made a late run and ended with decent gains. Investors were motivated by earnings data and scooped up shares of companies that performed better than expected, while selling shares that disappointed. Sensex ended with a gain of 235 points and closed at 61,185. Meanwhile, Nifty jumped 85 points to close just above 18,200 at 18,202. The Asian market mostly had a positive day, with Japanese shares ending higher, tracking a strong performance on the Wall Street as investors scooped up some stocks following the release of positive annual outlook. The Nikkei rose 1.21% in its biggest intraday gain in a week. Chinese traders overlooked the reiteration of the COVID-0 strategy, focusing instead on an eventual reopening and continuing to scoop up the nation's battered shares. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index ended 2.6% higher, while the Shanghai Composite Index gained 0.2% in today's session. And that's it on Business Today. Mark, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Samriddhi. And let's move on now, because we're going to get you beyond headlines. Let's go into X-ray mode, in a sense, beyond the headlines.
A parrot stole a Chilean reporter's earphone as he was reporting live. The parrot landed on his shoulder, took the earphone with its beak and flew away with it. The cameraman tried to catch the bird to retrieve the earphone, but the parrot flew away. Thousands of members of Argentina's gay community marched through the streets of Buenos Aires in celebration of 31st annual Pride Parade. Parade goers gathered in Plaza de Mayo to take part in Pride Fair and view musical performances. An effigy of British former Prime Minister Liz Truss was torched as part of traditional bonfire night celebrations in the small southeastern town of Edinburgh. Bonfires are held around the country on the 5th of November in Britain to commemorate 1605 plot by Guy Fawkes to blow up Parliament. A rescued manatee began a new life in Venezuelan zoo after having been rehabilitated by local authorities. It has been named as Tico, and he was rescued by Venezuelan Navy 2 months ago off the coast of Nueva Esparta and was undergoing rehabilitation on Margarita Island of eastern Venezuela. Fans of an old-fashioned model of bicycle called penny farthings gathered in a park in Prague to show off their skills to onlookers. Dressed in historical costume, cyclists rode in formation accompanied to music or took part in races. Penny farthings, a model of bicycle with one large and one small wheel, were invented around 1870. World Today Desk, DD India.
I need to get one of those bicycles, but let's now move on to sports today. And here's Deepika with all the sports news. Over to you, Deepika.
Thanks and good evening, Mark. Now it's time to take a look at all that is passing in the world of sports in Sports Today of World Today. To start with cricket, star batter Virat Kohli was on Monday named as the ICC Men's Player of the Month for October following a series of stellar performances during India's charge to the T20 World Cup semi-finals in Australia. Kohli won his first Player of the Month award after scoring 205 runs with the bat, showcasing full array of his batting talent throughout October. And staying on cricket, Pakistan and India have joined New Zealand and England in confirming their semi-final spots at the ongoing ICC Men's T20 World Cup in Australia. India topped Group 2 after winning 4 of its 5 matches and will now play England at the Adelaide Oval in semi-final 2 on Thursday, the 10th of November. Pakistan, who finished second in Group 2 after beating Bangladesh on the final day of group stage matches, will now play New Zealand at the Sydney Cricket Ground in semi-final 1 on the 9th of November. And India defeated Zimbabwe in their last game of the Super 12 in ICC Men's T20 World Cup at the Melbourne Cricket Ground and qualified for the semi-finals. New Zealand, England, India and Pakistan now are the 4 teams who've qualified for the much-awaited semi-finals. So India will now take on England in the first semi-final at the Adelaide on the 10th of November, which is the second one. Take a look at our next report.
By 71 runs in the last game of the Super 12 at the Melbourne Cricket Ground on Sunday to set up a semi-final clash with England. India posted a mighty target of 187 runs with Zimbabwe failed short by 71 runs and bundled out for 115 runs in 17.2 overs. Earlier, Netherlands stunning South Africa by 13 runs already confirmed India's place in the semi-final. Playing their last match of the Super 12, India won the toss and opted to bat first. They brought in Rishabh Pant in the playing 11 in place of Dinesh Karthik. Skipper Rohit Sharma, who has not been into the runs in this tournament, disappointed again as he got out on 15 runs. On the other hand, KL Rahul played some remarkable shots and notched up another 50. Suryakumar Yadav then came into the mix and scored unbeaten 61 runs off 25 balls. Yadav smashed 6 fours and 4 sixes during his majestic knock, even though the other middle order batters found it tough to get going. India ultimately finished at 186 runs for 5 wickets. Sean Williams was the pick of the bowlers for Zimbabwe by returning figures of 2 for 9 in 2 overs. Chasing a mammoth 187 runs, Zimbabwe didn't have a good start and suffered an early collapse, losing half of their side for just 36 runs. All the Indian pacers were on song as they used the conditions to perfection to extract swing and movement. Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Mohammad Shami brought their experience into play, whereas youngster Arshdeep Singh was brilliant once again. Ravichandran Ashwin starred with 3 wickets for 22 runs in his 4 overs as India bundled Zimbabwe out for 115 runs. With this win, India finished as the table toppers of Group 2 with 4 wins, 1 loss in 5 matches. New Zealand, England, India and Pakistan are the 4 teams who have now qualified for the semi-finals. New Zealand will take on Pakistan in the first semi-final at the Sydney Cricket Ground on Wednesday, while India has set up a clash with England in the second semi-final at the Adelaide Oval on Thursday. Winners of these 2 semi-finals will go head-to-head in the final scheduled on 13th of November at the Melbourne Cricket Ground for the T20 World Cup trophy.
With this convincing victory against Zimbabwe, Team India has made sure that they reach the semi-finals with the winning momentum. Now, the next up in the knockouts will be England and the match will be played on the 10th. With cameraman Rakesh Kumar, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Melbourne for DD India.
And with India making it into the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup, fans are also very excited as they want to see India lifting the coveted trophy after 15 years. But they also wish that India faces Pakistan in the finals. Let's hear more.
Alright, another convincing victory by Team India. They beat Zimbabwe by 71 runs and they have topped the group with 8 points, and they'll play England now in the semis at Adelaide. We have some fans with us. We'll try and talk to them. How do you want to celebrate India's victory, and what a convincing victory by India beating Zimbabwe?
First of all, we thanks to Doorshan giving an opportunity for us to speak, and it's a wonderful victory, and especially MCG, it's a very lucky ground for India so far. Like the first match between Pakistan, now the next match with Zimbabwe, and we're looking forward to get final here to see next Sunday this time, and I think we need to.
No, I am happy with DK finishing style. Pant is not successful in T20, so DK might be a great finisher for India. So I'm thinking like DK might be back in the Team India instead of Pant, and other 10 players are the same. Yeah.
But if you see 5 matches that India have played, they have won 4 matches, and in 2 matches Virat Kohli got man of the match, and in 2 matches Surya Kumar was the player of the match. You think their role will be very important against England in the semi-finals?
100%. Look, I mean, first of all, we want to congratulate all the Indians around the world and in India. Thanks to Doorshan for giving us the opportunity. You're most welcome to visit our homes and have coffee. Yes, absolutely. Kohli and Surya Kumar are the 2 most important players in our team. What we have to also remember is that England has got a very strong batting lineup that is not delivered as yet, right? So you cannot take them lightly. The batting order is pretty tall. So in that case, I prefer that we play Chahal ahead of Akshay Patel. He hasn't had a good tournament. In fact, it's been below average. Chahal has been known as a good wicket taker. They should do that. And particularly the batting order has to be shuffled. Rohit Sharma hasn't delivered, so they might have to relook the way they open. But I think Pant should definitely play in. He's one of the most explosive batsmen who can change the game within 5 minutes. He's an impact player. Pant has to play.
How will you celebrate Team India's victory today?
It was fabulous, like so much energy at the MCG, like it's almost similar to what India and Pakistan was, and like we are hoping to see India-Pakistan again in the finals.
So everyone is convinced here that Team India is going to win the World Cup after 15 years? Yeah! So can we have a final cheer for Team India? Absolutely, they're all ecstatic and they're confident that Team India is bringing the cup home again after 15 years. With cameraman Rakesh Kumar, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Melbourne for DD India.
And moving on to soccer now, Liverpool won their first away game since May 2022, beating Tottenham Hotspur by 2-1. Mohamed Salah opened the scoring for the team in the 11th minute, receiving the ball from Darwin. Now with 5 minutes to go for the half-time whistle, Salah doubled Liverpool's lead as Eric Dier's mistake saw Salah capitalize, sprinting forward and getting the better of Hugo Lloris. The Englishman fired a shot from a tight angle into the far post to cut Liverpool's lead by 1 goal. The high-octane game continued as Spurs pushed forward for an equalizer, coming close on several occasions but failing to find the much-needed goal. And now with this, Tottenham lost their second home game in a row, which has now seen them fall to 4th with 26 points after Newcastle United dismantled Southampton to jump to 3rd position. And in tennis, Arena Sabalenka stunned world number 1 Iga Swiatek by 6-2, 2-6, 6-1 to set up a WTA Finals Championships showdown with Caroline Garcia after the French women cruised past Maria Sakkari in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, Swiatek had not dropped a set at the season-ending tournament but was subdued by the powerful forehand of the Belarusian, who sealed the massive upset with one of her 12 aces before pumping her fist in triumph. Now, the win set up a rematch with red-hot Garcia, who beat her en route to winning the Cincinnati title. The French women eased past Maria Sakkari by 6-3, 6-2 to reach her first WTA final championship match. And moving on, in boxing, 2 more medals have been assured for Team India at the ongoing Asian Boxing Championship. Govind Kumar Sahani defeated Mansoor Khalifa by 5-0 in 48 kg weight category in quarterfinals by unanimous decision, while Shiva Thapa defeated Minius Chui by 4-1 in 63.5 kg weight category in quarterfinal round by split decision. And for more sporting action, let's quickly take a look at Sports Wrap.
Aaron Finch won't rush into a decision over his international future following Australia's exit from T20 World Cup. He instead will give himself a chance to see how the season's PBL goes. Having retired from ODIs in September, there are no international commitments for Finch until next of August when Australia have T20s in South Africa. The next T20 World Cup is in West Indies and the USA in mid-2024 when Finch will be 37. India ended its Para Badminton Championship campaign with 16 medals comprising 2 gold, 2 silver and 12 bronze medals. On Sunday, Pramod Bhagat and Manisha Ramadas won gold medals in singles at the PWF Para Badminton World Championships in Tokyo. In an All-India SL3 final, the reigning Paralympic gold medalist Bhagat beat compatriot Nitesh by 21-19, 21-19 in 53 minutes. This is Bhagat's 4th World Championship gold in singles and 6th overall in the marquee event. However, Bhagat and Manoj Sarkar went down by 21-14, 18-21, 13-21 to Indonesia's Hikmat Ramadhani Ukun Rakhyandi in the SL3 SL4 men's doubles final. Belgium and the Netherlands will jointly host the men's and women's FIH Hockey World Cup in 2026, the International Hockey Federation confirmed. The 2 FIH Hockey World Cups will take place simultaneously in July or August 2026 in the Netherlands and over in Belgium. Both men's and women's team will play at both the venues. Bayern Munich have revealed on Sunday that their star footballer Alfonso will not play for the club until the 2022 World Cup, but his participation in Qatar is not at risk after he suffered a hamstring injury in their dramatic 3-2 victory on Saturday. Davies will miss Bayern's final Bundesliga games prior to the tournament against Werder and Schalke. The World Cup takes place from the 20th of November till the 18th of December, with Canada beginning their campaign on the 23rd of November against Belgium. Sports Desk, DD India.
So that's all from now from the world of sports. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Deepika, and for that comprehensive sports roundup. Now let's look at historic moments associated with this day, culled out for our memory in our History of the Day.
On this day in 1888, Bharat Ratna C.V. Raman, an Indian physicist, was born in Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu. He was the recipient of the 1930 Nobel Prize for Physics for the 1928 discovery, now called Raman scattering. On this day in 1858, Bipin Chandra Pal, a powerful revolutionary and journalist, was born in Habiganj district, which is now a part of Bangladesh. He started a newspaper called Swaraj for the Indians in England. On this day in 1916, Janet Pickering Rankin became the first woman to be elected to US Congress. Rankin was an American politician and women's rights advocate. She was the first woman to hold federal office in the United States. On this day, the Jokela High School shooting occurred in Finland. The gunman, 18-year-old Pekka Erik Ovinen, entered the school armed with a semi-automatic pistol. He killed 8 people and wounded 1 person. The gunman shot himself in the head after the shooting. World Today Desk, DD India.
And that has been the world today. Thank you very much for spending your evening with us. Namaskar.
The changing world